Mid-flight turbulence shook the cabin, but the real shock came when the captain's voice cracked over the intercom. "Is there any fighter pilot on board?" Moments earlier, the arrogant CEO in 2A had been ridiculing a weary single dad in coach. Now every passenger's eyes turned to see who would rise, and everything flipped upside down. Morning light slants across the glass-walled concourse, gilding the marble floors and coating the sea of rolling suitcases in warm gold. Evan Sterling, mid-40s and razor-sharp in a charcoal Savile Row suit, cuts through the crowd as if he owns the oxygen everyone breathes. He never breaks stride. A subtle nod to the gate agent who addresses him by name, a swift flick of his wrist to scan the first-class boarding pass, a silent proclamation of altitude and importance. The rich scent of sandalwood cologne trails behind him, mingling with the fizz of champagne poured before the plane has even left the jet bridge. Farther back in the boarding queue, Caleb Brooks wrestles with an entirely different reality. He's early 30s, face drawn from too many sleepless nights, thrift store jacket fraying at the cuffs. Against his chest, 9-month-old Luna gurgles, one tiny fist curled around his dog tags the only glint of his former life as an Air Force fighter pilot. He juggles a diaper bag, a formula-stained burp cloth, and a cumbersome car seat that keeps banging against his knee. Each time the overhead speaker crackles, main cabin now boarding, zones 4 and 5, Caleb's pulse quickens. He has to make Denver by morning. Surgeons are prepping for Luna's operation, and every minute feels like borrowed breath. Inside the plane, first class glows honey-soft under amber LEDs. Seats bloom into beds with the tap of a button, and champagne flutes rest on linen-draped trays. Evan slips into 2A, places an artisan coffee beside a monogrammed briefcase, and dons noise-canceling headphones, sealing himself off from the lesser world beyond the curtain. Caleb boards last. Shuffling down the narrow aisle, he tries to keep Luna asleep and the car seat upright. Just as he squeezes past row 2, the seat's hard plastic corner snags on Evan's leather briefcase. Coffee explodes over $1,000 loafers. A gasp ripples through nearby passengers. Evan rips off his headphones, voice icy, but low enough to sting. Watch it. Maybe keep the economy-class circus in economy. His glare is surgical, dissecting Caleb where he stands. Caleb's cheeks flush crimson. He mumbles an apology, bouncing Luna in rhythmic desperation as her whimper threatens to bloom into a wail. Eyes burn on the back of his neck, first-class eyes, judging, dismissing, but he keeps moving toward coach, toward cramped seats and fluorescent hum. 2 heartbeats later, the cabin doors seal, engines spool, and the plane lunges down the runway. In 30,000 feet of climbing altitude, these 2 men, one armored in privilege, the other in nothing but love, will share the same thin air. For now, they sit worlds apart, unaware that the sky is about to rip every hierarchy to shreds. The jet pierces through a quilt of cloud, trading the gray of winter for an endless cobalt horizon. Seatbelt chime dings off. A hush settles, just the soft whir of recirculated air and the distant hum of turbines. First class. Evan's laptop glows against the dimmed cabin. A real-time graph tracks stock prices like a nervous EKG. He keys in a passcode, opens a secure video chat. A grid of board members in suits, all waiting for his verdict on a billion-dollar acquisition. Board chair tinny over earbuds. Evan, Tokyo's expecting your final approval by touchdown. If this merger stalls, we lose Asia. Evan forces a cool grin, but his fingers drum the armrest. Outside his window, lightning flickers far off in a bruised purple cloud bank. Code. Row 27. Fluorescent glare, knees grazing the seatback. Caleb wedges Luna's bottle between 2 fingers while unfolding a crumpled letter from Children's Mercy Hospital. Letter VOICOVER, Caleb reading silently, trembling. "Mr. Brooks, please arrive by 900 for pre-op. Without intervention, ventricular failure risk is acute." He swallows hard, kissing Luna's forehead. She stirs, eyes the color of dawn. Across the aisle, an elderly woman, Mrs. Delgado, offers a soft smile and a butterscotch candy. Mrs. Delgado, whispering, "For after she's better, a sweet for a sweet." Caleb's voice cracks, "Gracias," as he slips the candy into his jacket pocket beside the dog tags. Galley. Flight attendant Maya, late 20s, compassionate eyes, pours ginger ale for a queasy teenager. She notices Caleb bouncing in the aisle, Luna fussing. "Maya, sir, let me warm that bottle for you in the galley. Babies hate cold milk, airplanes too." Caleb exhales gratitude like oxygen. "You're an angel." First class continued. Evan glances at his Rolex, local time 2:17 a.m., then at the curtains separating him from coach. Luna's distant cries filter through. He taps the armrest call button. Maya arrives. Evan doesn't remove his AirPods. "Evan, can you do something about the noise back there? I'm negotiating the future of telecom." Maya offers an apologetic nod, disappears. Evan exhales, pinching the bridge of his nose. Sweat beads despite the frigid cabin. Coach minutes later. Maya returns Luna's warmed bottle to Caleb. Luna quiets instantly, suckling with contented sighs. Relief shivers through Caleb's shoulders. Mrs. Delgado leans in, conspiratorial. "You're a good father, I can already tell." "Caleb, I hope she thinks so too, after everything." The plane jolts, unexpected turbulence. Oxygen masks clack inside their housings, but don't drop. A murmur ripples through the cabin. First class. Evan's video call freezes, signal lost. The storm outside flashes again, closer now. He taps the screen, nothing. A growing tightness coils in his chest. Code. Caleb grips both armrests, instinctively scanning the engine's drone, the pitch of the wings, every vibration, old pilot reflexes resurfacing. His gaze lands on Luna, now dosing off, and the stakes crystallize. She must reach that operating table alive. VOICOVER, warm, cinematic. At 31,000 feet, two men race clocks only they can hear. One to save an empire of silicon, the other to save a single, fragile heartbeat. Neither imagines the sky itself will soon choose which mission truly matters. Outside, thunder growls, a beast waking. Cabin lights flicker as Part 3 looms beyond the horizon. A lull settles after the last jostle of turbulence, but Luna's eyes spring open, glossy with that newborn alarm that precedes a storm of tears. One whimper, two, and then the cabin fills with a piercing wail that slices through the low murmur of engines and clinking ice. Caleb bounces her gently, murmuring the half-sung lullaby his late wife used to hum, yet the cry only sharpens, echoing down the aluminum tunnel. Row A, Evan's eyebrows knife together above his tablet. A chorus of champagne glasses rattles as he yanks off his AirPods. He waits 3, maybe 4 seconds, long enough for passengers around him to notice his irritation, then unbuckles with a theatrical sigh and rises. Camera phones tilt upward, tracking his advance like spotlights following a star. Evan strides past the curtain, past the no trespassing, invisibly printed between classes, his Italian loafers clicking a verdict with every step. He stops at row 27, where Caleb, flushed and sweating, struggles to pop the cap off a tiny bottle of gripe water. Luna writhes, red-faced, cords in her neck straining. Mrs. Delgado tries offering her crocheted shawl to muffle the noise, but her hands tremble. Evan plants a palm on the headrest in front of Caleb. "Excuse me, people are trying to conduct business back there," he says, voice pitched just loud enough for the surrounding rows to hear. Perhaps you should have considered driving if you can't control your situation. Caleb meets his eyes, apology forming even before words. I'm sorry, sir. She's in pain. I'm doing everything Doing everything? Evan's laugh is quick, metallic. Looks more like you're starring in a one-man chaos show. Some of us have billion-dollar deadlines, not diaper emergencies. Phones lift higher, the red rec icons bloom. Maya, the flight attendant, rushes in from the galley, but Evan's momentum barrels on. Look, buddy, he adds, lowering his tone to something that pretends to be helpful. There's children's Benadryl in the amenity kit, if you know what I mean. A little responsibility goes a long way. A hush, horrified, Caleb's mouth parts. I'm not drugging my daughter, he whispers, voice quaking. He presses Luna close, her sobbing hiccups against his collarbone. Mrs. Delgado finally speaks, frail yet fierce. Young man, your money can't buy manners. Evan's jaw flexes, but he smirks instead, turning the barb into a stage cue. Actually, ma'am, money buys peace and quiet, two things in very short supply here. He flicks Caleb's dog tags with a manicured finger. Metal clinks. Nice costume jewelry, by the way. The sting lands deeper than any insult could. Those tags carry every sortie Caleb ever flew, every friend who never came home. Heat surges behind his eyes. Still, he manages a horse. Please return to your seat, sir, because Luna needs calm, not confrontation. Maya inserts herself, palms up. Gentlemen, let's de-escalate. Sir, we have noise-canceling headsets in first if you'd like. I already have headsets, Evan snaps, stepping back. What I don't have is silence. He pivots, satisfaction curving his lips as he marches to the front. Phones follow, whispers swell like a gust in his wake. Caleb sinks lower, cheeks burning, unable to meet the curious gazes of row mates recording his humiliation for strangers' feeds. Luna's cries ebb into soft hiccups. Caleb kisses her hair, heart hammering. From the corner of his eye, he sees a teenage boy stop recording, thumb hovering, empathy dawning. Small mercies. And then another violent shudder rips through the fuselage. Overhead bins rattle. The seatbelt sign snaps on with a harsh ding. A collective gasp ripples through the cabin, turning all those judgmental faces toward the windows where black clouds pulse with hidden lightning. VOICOVR, low and foreboding. In the space of 10 heartbeats, a single father was judged and sentenced by the court of wealth and convenience. But the sky keeps its own jury, and the verdict is about to flip. The cabin jolts again, hard enough that plastic meal trays bounce. Oxygen masks rattle ominously behind their latches. A terrified yelp erupts somewhere near the lavatories. Caleb steadies Luna with one hand, braces the seat in front of him with the other. The lights flicker. 1 second, harsh fluorescence, the next, an eerie twilight. Time itself seems to stutter. The flicker triggers something deep in Caleb's muscle memory. In a heartbeat, he's no longer in row 27, but in a roaring F-16 cockpit, canopy shimmering with desert heat. Flashback Afghan sky, 3 years earlier. The sun scorches the horizon, painting the clouds in molten copper. Caleb call sign Halo pulls 6GS in a barrel roll, locking onto a hostile drone skimming the mountain ridge. His voice, crisp over comms, Viper lead, Fox 2, target away. A missile streaks, blossoms into a silent fireball. Cheers crackle through the headset. The storm swallows the 777 in a single swallow of black. Raindrops slam the windows so hard they sound like buckshot. Then, bang. A metallic thud reverberates through the cabin, followed by a stomach-dropping lurch. Overhead bins pop open. A suitcase rockets into the aisle and skids like a bowling ball. Passengers scream. Oxygen masks tumble, hissing like snakes awakened. Flight deck door cracks open. First Officer Chen staggers out, blood seeping from a gash above his eyebrow. His voice wavers, raw with shock. "Medic, need a medic?" He collapses against the bulkhead, clutching his shoulder. Maya darts forward, catching him just before he slumps to the floor. "What happened?" Bird strike took out the right engine on climb. Captain Reynolds, he's conscious, but he can't use his left arm. Autopilot's glitching. Evan stands in the aisle, color drained. "This aircraft has 2 engines, right? We can still fly on one?" His voice flutters, no longer carved in marble. Chen's eyes lock onto Evan S., then sweep the cabin as if searching for something, someone. If conditions were clear, maybe, but we're icing up, controls are heavy. Captain needs another set of trained hands up there now. A symphony of panicked chatter erupts, 100 cell phones springing to life, trembling thumbs tapping last messages they hope will send. Caleb's world narrows. The pitch of the remaining engine, the roll angle, the feel of airflow he can judge by the vibration in his armrest. Old instincts calculated in split seconds. He squeezes Luna closer. Her breath flutters warm against his collarbone, utterly trusting. Captain Reynolds's voice crackles over the intercom, strained but steady. "Ladies and gentlemen, if any passenger on board has military fighter pilot experience or commercial cockpit time, please identify yourself to the crew immediately." Silence, one long, awful inhale of humanity realizing it is powerless. Cameras swing from face to face, hoping a hero will stand. Caleb's pulse hammers. His mind flashes Julia, delivery room, her last whisper. "Bring her home safe." He looks down. Luna's tiny hand rests over the name engraved on his tag, Halo. He swallows hard, tasting metal and grief and purpose. Mrs. Delgado's brittle fingers touch his sleeve. "Mij, they need you," she says, watery eyes pleading. Caleb rises, knees stiff from hours of immobility. The aisle seems to elongate like a runway unfurling beneath him. He hands Luna, swaddled in the crocheted shawl, to Maya. "Keep her breathing steady. She prefers the left side." Maya nods, eyes glossing. Evan stares, caught mid-panic, disbelief warping his features. You can barely keep a baby quiet." Caleb meets him with a calm forged somewhere above enemy deserts. "I've logged 2,000 flight hours in combat theaters. Can you fly a crippled 777 through an ice storm?" Evan's mouth opens, then shuts. Fear makes him small. Caleb advances. Each step past first-class seats feels like stripping altitude off a mountain of arrogance. As he reaches the cockpit door, he pulls Julia's dog tag free from his collar, kisses its edge, and slips it into his breast pocket, close enough to feel her heartbeat, then shoulders through. Inside, the flight deck is chaos. Alarms wailing, master caution lights strobing red, control yoke jerking like a live wire. Captain Reynolds, face ghost pale and left arm limp, blinks gratitude through pain. Caleb slides into the co-pilot seat, fingers dancing over switches as if greeting old friends. "Captain, I'm Caleb Brooks, former USAF. Let's keep this bird in one piece, sir." The captain exhales. "Welcome back to the sky, Brooks. Let's get everyone home." Behind them, 200 souls wait in suspended prayer, their fate now cradled in the hands of the man they dismissed just minutes ago. Back on the airstrip, the squadron crowds around him, slapping his helmet. A grinning captain hands him a patch, a golden winged heart signifying guardian of life, awarded for diverting enemy fire from medevac choppers. But that night in the barracks, a video call from home shatters every adrenaline high. His wife, Julia, 8 months pregnant, winces as she speaks. "Doc says bed rest, but you know me, I'm tougher than Kevlar." They blow each other kisses. Static swallows her smile. Fast forward, hospital delivery room. Lightning flashes outside the window, uncannily like the storm now stalking the commercial jet. Julia's labor spirals into chaos, cord complication, crash C-section. Doctors swarm, machines scream, then silence, awful, absolute. Luna wails for the first time while Caleb, still in uniform, presses Julia's limp hand to his lips. The heart monitor flatlines. He crumbles. The metal on his chest feels suddenly obscene. Months later, discharge papers cite family hardship. Caleb signs them with a trembling pen, vows never again to ride the razor edge between life and death. He trades supersonic arsenals for burp cloths and late-night bottle warmers, believing combat belonged to yesterday. Back to present, row 27. The flickering lights stabilize. Caleb's eyes refocus on the cramped cabin, on Luna's damp eyelashes, and the shawl Mrs. Delgado has draped over them both. His fingers find the dog tags at his neck, his and Julia's, thumb rubbing the worn embossing. Voiceover, gentle but resolute. He once ruled the skies with afterburner thunder. Now his battlefield is a narrow seat, his mission a single, fragile heartbeat. But dormant wings are still wings, and storm clouds have a way of calling them back. A chime dings overhead. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the seatbelt sign. Please remain seated. The intercom crackles, then cuts abruptly, replaced by hushed voices up front, urgent, overlapping, unnerved. Caleb's pilot instincts prickle. Something's wrong beyond mere turbulence. He tips his head, listening. Luna, settled at last, clutches his finger in sleep. The tempest outside hurls rain against the fuselage like 1,000 fists. Caleb closes his eyes, and for the briefest instant, he can almost feel the throttle in his hand again, the responsive shiver of aluminum beneath hard sky. A promise whispers through his memory, Julia's voice. Courage sounds like a whisper before it roars. He exhales, steadying himself for whatever roar is coming. The moment Caleb settles into the right seat, muscle memory surges from dormancy like a phoenix of afterburner flame. His hands glide across the overhead panel, boost pump on, crossbleed closed, anti-ice active, while his eyes skim the shrinking readouts. Right engine dead, fuel sloshing unevenly, pitot heat flirting with failure. Outside, lightning forks so near the windshield that static discharges snap across the glass like ghostly spiderwebs. Captain Reynolds pants through clenched teeth, sweat glazing his brow. Controls are balky, hydraulics sluggish on roll. Caleb nods, voice crisp, calm. We'll use rudder trim and manual override. I'll take radios, you keep us level. He toggles the transmitter. Denver Center, this is Phoenix 77 Heavy, Mayday, Mayday. Right engine out, captain injured, request vectors to nearest suitable diversion. Souls on board 212, fuel remaining 5.6. Denver Center replies, shaky but relieved to hear competence. Phoenix 77 Heavy, Roger Mayday. Nearest option is Casper Natrona, runway 32, storm cell moving east at 20 knots. You are cleared direct. Caleb twists the heading knob. The aircraft shudders, banking like an old warhorse answering a familiar rider. Cabin same moment. Maya cradles Luna, humming that half-remembered lullaby. Passengers strain to catch fragments of cockpit audio leaking from the PA. Calm baritone commands instead of the tremor they feared. Hope flickers across faces. A teenage boy who filmed earlier now whispers, "He's saving us, Mom." Evan sits in 2A, hands trembling over a phone screen that no longer finds a signal. The merger, the market, irrelevant rubble beneath an avalanche of mortality. He unbuckles impulsively, strides toward the galley, then hesitates as the aircraft lists. The turbulence that earlier bruised only his ego now gnaws at his spine. Maya spots him. "Sir, please stay seated. We need clear aisles in case of emergency." He opens his mouth to protest, but the look in her eyes stills him. For the first time, he folds into a coach jump seat opposite her, staring at the bundled infant, at innocence wrapped in crochet courage. In cockpit, Caleb scans weather radar, a wall of magenta, severe cells straddling their approach path. He keys intercom. "Folks, this is First Officer Brooks. We're diverting to Casper for a safe landing. Remain seated and keep those seat belts tight. We've got this." His tone carries the steady warmth of a campfire in a blizzard. Captain Reynolds chuckles weakly. "First Officer, huh?" Caleb permits a fleeting grin. "Old habits." He reaches for the flight spoilers, tests responsiveness. They groan but obey. Altitude unwinds, 31,029. He feathers the remaining engine to relieve asymmetric strain. Back in cabin, Evan's gaze stays fixed on Luna's cherub face, every hiccup of her breath hammering his conscience. The earlier coffee stain on his loafers looks grotesque now, a smear of vanity. He clears his throat. Is she okay?" Maya answers without looking up. Her dad made sure of it. Evan's eyes mist, the truth like salt water against a long, numb heart. In cockpit, warning horn blares, fuel imbalance. Caleb flips the crossfeed, siphoning precious pounds from left to right tank. Wind shear alert screams next. He steadies the yoke, breathing in rhythm with the aircraft, with memories of night sorties dodging SAM fire. "Easy, girl, dance with me." Reynolds watches, awed. "Why'd you ever leave the sky?" Caleb swallows. "Because I promised someone I'd never choose danger over family again." He thinks of Luna below, of Julia's ghost riding the thunder outside. But sometimes family is the reason you choose it. They break through cloud, a glitter of emergency vehicles lining a rain-slick runway, red strobes painting the night. Casper Tower clears them to land. Cabin speakers crackle, Caleb's voice serene. "Ladies and gentlemen, flight deck advises seat backs upright. Let's bring this bird home." 200 strangers clutch armrests, and each other, united now in a shared heartbeat powered by the quiet man they once dismissed. Casper Tower's beacon strobes like a lighthouse in a maelstrom, but the runway sits buried beneath curtains of sheeting rain. Inside, the cockpit warning chimes overlap, wind shear alert. Terrain, terrain, fuel low tone, landing gear fault. Caleb's jaw tightens. Caleb, gear lights are dark, manual extension. Captain Reynolds fumbles his injured arm toward the handle. Pain halts him halfway. Caleb yanks the red crank, muscles straining. Metal groans beneath their feet. Thunk, thunk. The starboard light flickers green, the port stays blank. Reynolds, left main isn't down. Caleb inhales. "Then we land with what we've got. Keep the wings level, I'll nurse the rudder." Cabin. The seatbelt sign burns like an ember. Passengers huddle, some weeping into phones, messages fighting for a bar of signal. Maya demonstrates the brace position, voice quivering yet firm. Luna stirs, Maya rocks her gently. Evan cannot sit. He staggers toward the bulkhead interphone. People need to hear calm. Maya hands him the handset, eyebrows raised. Evan's voice, amplified over the cabin PA, is raw, humbled. "This is Evan, a passenger just like you. The crew is extraordinary and a father in the cockpit is flying us home. Trust them. Hold each other. We're getting through this." Phones lower, sobs quiet. The words cost him everything he once valued: ego, polish, and by a fragile stillness. In cockpit. Tower, Phoenix 77 heavy, surface winds 350 at 28, gusts 40, runway wet. Caleb, copy. One engine, partial gear, we're committed. Final checklist complete. He whispers, hardly audible, "Julia, keep your wings around us." Descending through 2,000 feet, the storm punches the nose sideways. The captain groans, fighting the yoke. Caleb feathers the rudder, right leg burning from the pressure. "Caleb, easy, breathe with me. On my count, left aileron, hold, counter rudder now." Reynolds obeys, the jet levels slicing rain like a scythe. 1,000 feet. PAPI lights blink red white white. The glide slope is theirs by a hair. 500 EGPWS squawks, sync rate. Caleb silence, he thumbs it off. Not today. Cabin. Maya kneels beside row 27, shielding Luna with her body. Evan, on the jump seat opposite, clasps Mrs. Delgado's hands. Tears streak his cheeks. If we make it, call your family first, she whispers. Runway threshold. Caleb flares the nose, the single gear kisses asphalt. The missing left gear collapses, bangs sparks fountain beneath the wing. The aircraft skids, yawing right, tires shred. Caleb yanks reverse thrust, asymmetrical, fights the swerve with cross rudder. Metal screams, sparks shower past windows like meteor tails. Cabin erupts in unified screams, then settles into collective primal silence, stunned, waiting. Final meters. Speed bleeds to jogging pace, then walking pace, then stillness. Emergency vehicles swarm, red strobes reflecting off rain-slick fuselage. Caleb kills the remaining engine, lungs emptying a lifetime of held breath. He rests his forehead against the panel. Reynolds, voice breaking, "You just saved us, son." Caleb, "We saved us, Captain." He stands, knees jelly, opens the door. A roar of applause detonates down the aisle, raw, grateful, unstoppable. Maya rushes forward, thrusting Luna into his arms. Father and daughter reunite in the neon glow of rescue lights. Luna coos, oblivious to heroics, but her tiny fingers curl around his dog tags like a medal no government could bestow. At the doorway, Evan stands, soaked in tears and rain, wordless. He bows his head to Caleb, an apology, a thank you, a benediction, then steps aside so the pilot dad can carry his daughter into the waiting dawn. Rain sizzles against the tarmac as firefighters hose the smoking wheel well. Passengers descend emergency stairs, blanket-trapped and blinking at the knot of floodlights. Every phone is up, lenses trembling with adrenaline, recording the man in the thrift store jacket who's become the night's North Star. A paramedic reaches for Luna, stethoscope poised. Caleb keeps her tucked close, but his voice is gentle. She's fine, just cold. Her surgery in Denver at 900 hours. Can we get priority transport? The medic nods, flagging a supervisor. Behind them, reporters surge past cones, microphones thrust forward. Reporter, sir, name and rank. Are you really a single dad who just landed this plane? Caleb's gaze drops to Luna, then back. Name, not the story. All that matters is 212 people are walking off that jet. Flashbulbs pop. In the halo of strobes, Evan approaches, rain plastering his hair like a penance. He extends a trembling hand but can't find words. Finally, I misjudged you. I misjudged everything. Caleb studies him. The faintest smile tugs one corner of his mouth. We all get turbulence. Evan's eyes glass over. My Gulfstream on standby in Jackson, 40 minutes by chopper. It'll get you to Denver with time to spare. Let me do this, please. Caleb hesitates, memories of first-class ridicule flashing like static, then hears Julia's whispered mantra. Courage sounds like a whisper before it roars. He nods. For Luna. Evan exhales, relief shaking his shoulders. He whirls to his assistant, now barefoot, shoes lost in the evacuation slide. Get that bird ready, fuel to max, pediatric med kit on board. A roar of applause rises again as word ripples through the crowd. The CEO is gifting a jet, covering medical costs. Camera crews pivot, hungry for redemption footage. Evan doesn't pose. He kneels beside Caleb, shielding Luna from the rain with his own overcoat. Across the runway, Mrs. Delgado presses her crochet shawl into Maya's hands. Make sure they keep warm on that fancy plane. Maya laughs through tears, tucking the shawl around father and daughter. You'll visit when Luna's running laps, deal. Fire engine strobes paint everything crimson and cobalt while a rescue helicopter thumps into view, rotors shedding silver spray. As medics usher Caleb aboard, passengers begin chanting, uncoordinated but sincere. "Hollow, hollow, hollow." The call sign he buried is now the lifeline that lifts him toward the clouds again. Evan watches the helicopter rise, eyes shining. A journalist nudges closer, recorder live. "Mr. Sterling, any comment on tonight's events?" He wipes rain from his face, voice hoarse. "Only this, the true measure of success isn't altitude, it's gratitude." The chopper tilts south, blades carving dawn's first blush, carrying a single dad, a shawl-wrapped miracle, and the promise that strangers, however different, can still save one another when the sky falls apart. The helicopter skims over foothills awash in dawn rose light, setting down beside Evan's waiting Gulf Stream like a dragonfly alighting on porcelain. The moment the rotors hush, ground crew whisk a portable isolette toward the stairs. Evan jogs out, no umbrella, no entourage, only a folded piece of paper clutched like a confession. Inside the jet, leather seats gleam, untouched fruit platters sweat condensation. Caleb anchors Luna's carrier, eyes flitting to the gold-embossed stationery Evan slides across the table. Evan, voice hushed. "This covers every surgical cost, plus aftercare, college, whatever life throws." Caleb's fingers hover wary. Evan meets his gaze. "Please, let me land one thing right tonight." Caleb exhales, accepts. No further words are needed. The Rolls-Royce engines spool, and Wyoming slips beneath cloud. Denver Children's Hospital 0842. A gurney waits at the curb, surgeons already scrubbed beneath disposable parkas. Caleb paces beside it, whispering to Luna, "Daddy's right here, Firefly." Her lashes flutter, drugged but trusting. A nurse lifts her toward the OR doors. Caleb's arms hang suddenly empty, air cold as altitude. Evan steps up, presses a fresh coffee into Caleb's hand. "Sit, breathe, I'll handle paperwork." Caleb manages a smile. Paperwork's the easy part. Evan's eyes flick toward the double doors. "Not today it is." A waiting room. Maya appears off-duty, still wearing her airline scarf, carrying Mrs. Delgado on a jittery video call. "Dios te bendiga, mijo." The old woman insists through pixels. Caleb laughs for the first time in months. The sound startles him. Across the room, Evan stares at his phone, a teenage boy's contact photo frozen mid-eye roll. He hesitates, then taps call. Evan, voice cracking, "Gray, it's Dad. I, almost didn't get to say that again. Can we meet tonight? Yeah, I'll come to you." He hangs up, tears unhidden. 2 hours sluice by an institutional fluorescence. Caleb traces Julia's name on the dog tag, murmuring prayers he hasn't said since basic training. At last, the surgeon pushes through, mask dangling. "Mr. Brooks, ventricular repair was textbook. She's going to lead you on a merry chase for the next 80 years. Relief detonates. Caleb sinks to his knees, sobbing into hands that only hours ago steadied 300,000 pounds of hurtling steel. Corridor. He finds Evan leaning against a vending machine, eyes red. Caleb pulls him into an embrace that startles them both. "Told you we'd land it," Caleb whispers. Media swarm. Reporters spill from elevators, but Caleb shields his daughter's isolette with Mrs. Delgado's shawl. "No questions today, folks. My hero needs sleep." Even the hungriest lens lowers. Evan lingers at the edge, watching father and child wheel toward recovery. Pride of ownership once defined him. Tonight, pride of witness remakes him. As the elevator doors close, Caleb lifts Luna's tiny fist to his lips. "Mom would be proud," he murmurs, and somewhere beyond sterile ceilings, thunder rolls without menace. A salute from skies that finally, mercifully, stand down. A month later, spring dusk paints downtown Denver in lilac and gold. Inside a converted airplane hangar lit by chandeliers of recycled propellers, the inaugural Wings of Grace charity gala hums with low jazz and clinking glasses. Uniformed veterans, nurses, tech moguls, and line-level janitors share tables without name tags, everyone equal beneath the soaring ribs of the old rafters. At the stage wing, Evan straightens a modest navy suit, no cufflinks, no silk pocket square. His teenage son, Gray, stands beside him in Converse sneakers, nodding Evan's tie with amused patience. "Mom never let you near accessories," Gray teases. Evan chuckles, nerves crackling. "Tonight's not about accessories." Center hall, Caleb sways gently with Luna on his shoulder, her tiny headset protecting brand new eardrums from the band's saxophone. Maya snaps a photo on a disposable camera. She's sworn off phone screens for events she wants to remember with her own eyes. Mrs. Delgado video chats in from New Mexico, her famous shawl now draped around her shoulders like royal regalia. "Wave the camera at my miracle bébé," she orders. Caleb obliges, Luna's gummy smile stealing another heart through shaky pixels. Stage lights bloom. The MC announces, "Please welcome Sterling Innovations CEO, Evan Sterling." Applause, genuine, warm, disarming. Evan grips the podium, exhales. "Before we celebrate heroes, I have a confession," murmurs Hush. "A month ago, I thought altitude measured worth. 31,000 feet did nothing to lift my character. One man and coach did everything." He gestures toward Caleb, who flushes crimson as spotlights locate him. Sterling Innovations is funding full medical relief for pediatric cardiac cases flown to this city, every year, indefinitely. And starting Monday, every employee, from coder to custodian, receives 6 months paid parental leave. Family should never have to beg for runway. The applause this time is thunder, surfacing tears in waitstaff eyes. Gray steps forward, hugging his father. Camera flashes record the embrace, but for once Evan doesn't flinch from the lens. Caleb is called on stage next. He pauses beside the janitor who mops the hangar's edges, claps the man on the shoulder, then takes the mic with Luna perched on his arm like a co-pilot. "I used to think flying fast and low made me fearless," he begins, voice trembling yet clear. "Turns out real courage is high and slow, rocking a sick child at 3 a.m., or admitting you were wrong at 40,000 feet. He glances at Evan. The two men trade smiles carved by the same storm. Altitude isn't feet per minute. It's the number of souls you lift when you rise. Tonight, let's promise to fly a little higher for each other." Luna gurgles into the microphone, accidental comic timing that detonates laughter and wipes lingering tears. The band strikes up an upbeat swing. Gray drags his dad to the dance floor. Maya twirls a delighted Mrs. Delgado, shawl flaring like a cape, while Caleb rocks Luna in rhythm, dog tags glinting beneath disco lights. Outside, the night sky is clear, jet black, and infinite, a silent runway for every heart inside the hangar. High above, a contrail glows silver in moonlight, proof that storms pass, engines heal, and wings always remember how to climb. Universal moral, kindness and respect cost nothing, yet they can change everything. The hearts we overlook today may be the very hands that carry us safely through tomorrow.